The last hurdle, right in front of that hut, there was a lake.
Right, yeah.
There's a lake in front of the hut.
Right.
And we had to cross that lake to get to the hut.
But it's frozen solid. Just no drums, is it? You know, it's icy cold down there. It's not water, is it?
It's water.
With ice on the top.
Ice on the top.
Right, yeah.
Relatively thin ice.
When you say relative, what does that mean? Because we're talking about Antarctica, where we're talking about hundreds of feet deep.
Yeah, well, we're probably talking so many inches. I'm not sure how many.
Really thin.
Really thin. So we very carefully took the dogs on there. Ian was out the front with a pole, just testing the strength of the ice. And,
so it'd be kind of weird when you go, oops, gone through.
It didn't happen. Or did it? He might have found, I can't remember, he might have found...
Because, you know, you're sitting at Antarctica. No,
yeah.
Come on, it's got to be this thick.
We were carefully watching to make sure we didn't get into really thin spots. The dogs who love to fight did not fight.
So they really
we knew,
they knew it.
We knew there was danger, and so did they. So
did you sort of sense the dogs knew, hang on, this is for real now, that we can't mess around anymore?
Yeah, and they were being a bit more serious about this whole thing.
Yeah.
When we were in, and I found out during the year that...
You found out why?
No, we found out if there was anything they thought was a bit dangerous, they would let you know.
They towed the line, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really good interaction between the dog and the thing. And I think that's what somebody said, that's one of the things you really miss. Because when you're driving around in a truck, or whatever it is, or a skid, whatever, you can't tell, but the dogs sense it.
They had sensors that were better than ours.
Yeah.
And, they made trips safer.
Now tell me, why would there be a lake in Antarctica that has ice this centimetre thick? This is freezing cold place. The place would be frozen solid, surely.
You would think so. I think you get meltwater coming down.
Right.
Off the sides of the mountains where...
so it's trickling down, yeah?
It trickles down, forms a lake.
And then
but it's still
over.
cold enough that it freezes over.
Oh, okay. So in the summertime, that would be a normal lake?
Yeah,
freshwater lake?
Probably if we were there in mid-February, there probably would have been no ice on the top, or very little.
All right, so you've made it.
Yes.
Yippee, yeah. And what is the shack? It's the shack. You're like, oh.
Oh, it's a caravan-y looking little...
See Taj Mahal in the middle of the ice field, you know. Little note saying, don't use the toilet. Speaking of which, what did you do?
Outside.
Freeze your nuts off. I mean, literally, that's what they say. You've got to be really careful about doing this. You've got multiple layers of clothing on.
Yes, you had to be really careful, otherwise you'd mess yourself up.
Yeah, yeah. So what about number twos?
You just didn't do it. It was only a few days, so it was no hassle.
You serious? So you were out in the middle of nowhere and no number twos available, no outside loo or something like that?
No outside loo. No.
You just go and piss in the tundra? Oh, not
out
tundra.
behind a rock or something.
Okay, one other thing I didn't mention to ask. Did you take radio communications with you?
Yes.
Right, because I think when I was reading before going, hang on, you guys just going off for a weekly jaunt?
Oh no, the radio communication was vital.
Absolutely.
You did check in several times a day and say, yes, we're fine.
So you reached the caravan.
Reached the caravan, got across the melt ice successfully. Then I thought, dying for a cuppa. But no, you still got to get the dogs in, lay out a dog line, peg it down, get the dogs, hitch to it, give them a pat, make them all feel welcome and happy, give them some food, make sure they got plenty of drink, which is snow.
So they just eat snow, don't they?
They just eat snow, yes. So we did all that, and then finally we could go inside.
And you just eat snow too, don't you?
No.
What do you eat? Drink?
What do we drink? Water.
Yeah, but from snow. Do you melt the snow?
Yeah, because you got some fuel in there and a little stoves and that.
Start melting water.
Yeah. Put the snow in, melt it up.
All right, so you've got that first cuppa. It's like, sit inside the caravan, take your boots off, whatever else, set up your sleeping areas, and have a big chat. Who brings out the old whiskey?
Yeah, somebody would have brought some. Probably Ian.
I suppose once everything's settled down, you can walk out of the caravan, look up to the stars, wow, see the auroras, and then you've got the mountain range behind you.
In fact, when we first arrived there, the sun was out, and we thought, this really does look good. This is going to be a really good day the next day, because our purpose was to explore the area, up and down the mountains and all that sort of thing. So we thought.
So you have a couple of hours sleep because you probably get there really late and the sun doesn't go down till 11 o'clock in the night. You wake up probably about 6 o'clock and go, yes, let's have a lovely day.
No, I think we slept until about 10. So something like that. We got up, we opened the door, looked out. Guess what we found?
Penguins?
No.
Dogs run away?
Crappy weather.
Oh.
Cloudy, windy, a lot colder than the previous day. We looked out and thought, oh no. What are we going to do? Bit of a discussion. He said, we're going to go out anyway.
Okay. No sitting and play cards or something like that?
No, it was tempting, but...
Yeah.
We thought,
but you were adventurous young people. We've got a weekend away. We're going to make the most of it. Doesn't matter what.
And I think I've told you before, we were immortal.
Immortal, that's right.
Yes. So out we went. And we started clambering over rocks and around the base of the mountain, the ice and snow was really rough and all over the place.
You didn't need the dogs. You left the dogs behind.
The dogs were just left there.
Okay.
We tend to make sure everything's hunky-dory with them, and off we went. Mm-hmm. We quite enjoyed it, except for the times it was so windy that we just sometimes got blown off our feet and slammed against ice or rocks.
So we're talking seriously, like 100 k's or something like that, just to knock a person over. That's pretty hard.
You probably would get gusts that would get up to...
Because they'd be swirling around the mountain.
80, 90 knots on the odd occasion.
You just come around the corner, hit by a rock.
That's the sort of thing that was happening. Yeah. And being at the base of a mountain, you can imagine it's much gustier than normal.
Yeah, it'd be sort of swirling.
And you got wind tunnels and swirling and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But we experienced something else on that trip. One of the weirder things that you get in the Antarctic, not just the Antarctic, a whiteout.
Oh. I thought, because when I read about white, I thought it was just the snowed out, it comes to snow, but you said that's not what it is.
Not at all. What happens is the sky becomes uniform light grey.
Yeah.
Just the clouds, so there's no
horizon.
And I remember I was standing there in all this ice all around me in all sorts of shapes, and then it just disappeared. It faded out. And it was like I was just standing on nothing because the ground disappears, the sky disappears.
Everything's one colour, isn't it?
It's all one uniform colour.
It's like you're in a
there is no
cave.
feature. You could see rocks, but anything that was white disappeared. And it was the weirdest sensation.
Because you lose track of all bearings. You don't know what's up, what's down.
Yes.
You're in this sort of white cave that's completely white.
That's what it was like. And you just looked around and you knew...
Because you've also been claustrophobic. It almost makes you feel, I can't.
I didn't feel claustrophobic, but I did feel like I dare not move.
Yeah.
I cannot move because it was so rough. I could have been standing right beside a large crevice and I wouldn't see it.
Is that one of the things
I could have been standing beside an ice cliff and I wouldn't see that either.
But is that one of the things they have to train you before you go?
Because they couldn't. You can't train for a whiteout. You're just told if this happens, better not to move.
Yeah, because it's temporary, isn't it? It's not sort of... It just happens.
Just happens, and you only need a slight break in the cloud cover and it'll disappear. And that's what happened. I forget, it might have been about 5 minutes. I just stood there waiting before there was a slight break in the clouds and a little bit of shadow starts to reappear and you can see things again.
Yeah, because I remember climbing up a hill in Wales and literally the clouds came right over and all of a sudden you were completely in the cloud. It wasn't very deep, so I just had to sit down and wait until because you couldn't see anything, just in this...
A little bit similar, except yours visibility disappeared because of mist, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this one, no mist.
So is that with the wind howling at you, so you've got a sensory perception as well?
Even that was difficult because being at the base of mountains, the wind was swirling in all directions. Well, if you'd on a windless day, it would have been...
Yeah, it would have been worse, because that's another sense gone.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway.
Okay, so that's your exploring afternoon. So what do you have for lunch?
We probably have biscuits or something with much while we're out there, something like that. I can't remember.
Bully beef and corned beef?
Something like that.
Because you have to keep your calories up. You can't just eat food that we'd eat up here.
No. I think one time we even tried the dog's pemmican blocks. I only ever tried that once.
It was a dare, though. But, kept the dogs strong. I mean, they're big dogs.
Oh, yes.
I saw it.
It's got everything they need, those things. It was actually based on army pemmican blocks that they used to use for the soldiers.
Looking at the pictures you showed me, those dogs were fairly big dogs.
Yes.
They're up to about here. They're solid, whereas this was quite a lean little thing.
Well, the ones we had down there probably the bulkiest Huskies you ever find anywhere.
Because they needed the fat to survive, yeah. The other thing is, how far away do you reckon you got from the caravan? You're up in the mountain, I'm just thinking about how do you navigate?
Well, it's daylight, yeah. And
you sort of see, they're down there.
you can see where, because you climb up a mountain, you can see where you can see the hut.
Okay, so we come back, and who's cooking dinner? Yeah, it's 3 blokes. You guys probably know how to cook by now.
Hey, look, this is a while back.
We
probably would have shared it. You boil the water, I'll get the food and chop it up and do different things and just pile it all into a big stew or something. Stews was a very common thing to have.
That's a man's food. So, so somebody's got to feed the dogs, somebody look after the dogs, go and pat the dogs, go and talk to the dogs, and tell them a bednight story, and see what happens.
Goldilocks.
And 3 bears.
Yeah.
What do you do at night? When you're finished, you've had a good night out?
We played cards and yarn and
start singing and carrying on?
Did we sing? Might have done. Can't remember.
There's a bit of drinking? Guys have a bit of drinking?
Oh, there was a little bit. Not too much because, the drinks you had to carry with you.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. It's just like a weekend away with the boys. And
you'd probably have a can or two, that sort of thing. And,
and what was the sleeping area like? I mean, was it pretty rough? You got your sleeping bag up to the top?
Yeah, well, you just got...
Zip yourself in.
I think that caravan had 4 bunks in it. And you had with a mattress, and you just had your sleeping bags with you, and that was it. Mm. It's all very simple, very, very basic.
Was there a heater in there just to warm it up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's, some sort of basic
stuff. Well, the heater was actually, I think, the stove was the heater, if I remember right.
Mm, mm.
But it got quite cosy because it's well insulated.
Yeah.
But I slept pretty well that night, so I can't really remember.
Well, I suppose when you've been out all day, you've worn out.
Yeah.
You're knackered. You just had a good day.
You do hear the guy wires.
Yes.
Yeah, there is that.
Okay, so you'd had checked into base saying, yes, we're all good. Good night.
Yes. Had to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Next morning, get up a little bit late again.
Ooh.
Look out the door. And it was rough the previous day. This was worse.
Oh, right, okay. Somebody didn't check the weather report before they left, did they? In a sense, because you check it when you go out on the boat. You've got to check the weather report, see what.
We were relying on the Met guys, and you know what they were like, particularly back in those days.
A bit of rain and a slushy clover or something.
The guy who was in charge of the Met department here had a reputation that whatever he said, the opposite happened.
All right, so this is day 3. First day you got there,
yes.
Second day you're out in the mountains, third day is gloom, gloom, gloom.
Gloom, 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 yes. So we ummed and ahed for a bit and thought, nah, it's just not worth it. If there was a bit of danger the previous day, this would be a lot worse.
So you feel like the storm is getting worse. It's like increasing. Worse. It's like a typical storm there that builds up, lasts a day, and then it goes down again. But when it's building, it could get worse.
Yeah. Now it wasn't so bad that we couldn't travel, so we thought that's what we're going to do.
Get out while you can.
Get out while we can. Head back to base.
Yeah.
So we radioed base and told them what we were doing. Saddled the dogs. Gingerly went across that melt lake.
It's a funny thing called melt lake. I absolutely understand. It's just rolling off and just builds up, and it's just a nice sheen of ice on the top.
Yeah. A little more than a sheen, otherwise we wouldn't be. But there was enough to hold us up for it.
It's one of those pictures where you put your foot down, all the ice goes crack, 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 crack.
Because you don't want to go in, because if you went right in, it could be lethal.
Well, did anybody try to do some fishing?
Yes, but I didn't see anyone catch anything.
Because in the Canadian Alps, they just got little huts. They skid along the thing and they drill a hole in it.
Well, there wouldn't be any fish in the.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
There would not be any fish in that melt.
There could be salmon.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, we're heading back. We've crept across the lake, the melt lake. Yep.
Yeah. So
and the dog's still in that sort of mood. I'm not sure about this. Have they settled down a bit?
They settled down reasonably.
They're not fighting anymore.
They're not fighting much. They don't fight.
Okay.
But they're not fighting much, and we were going all right for a while.
So now we're heading back to the base where you got a bit ahead of yourself. Tell us about that.
Well, we take it in turns being the leader.
Right, so there's one on the back, holding the reins. They have reins? Do you have reins? No. You're just holding onto the back.
Yeah, it's just handles on the back, uprights.
And there's somebody else at the front who's leading the pack.
We actually had the 2 dogs. We had the lead human.
Yes.
Then we had one dog team.
Yes.
And another dog team behind that.
So you're following another. The two sleds. One's following the other one.
Yes.
And there's one human at the front who's leading everybody.
Yes.
And he knows where he's going.
Yeah.
Like he can see where he's going.
Well, you can see the mountains.
Okay, you're just heading to mountain. That's
Yes.
dead record. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is your turn.
Navigating was easy. It was my turn.
Right, and you're at the front going, I'm so fit to help.
Yeah, so
have
I'm
you got
going
skis
along.
on, or have you got snowshoes on, or are you just running your boots?
Just in my boots.
Did they have those grippy things? Those
Crampons, we did have that, but you only use them when you actually had to.
Okay.
And when you're on almost flat surface,
you
didn't need to.
So you've got to be pretty fit. You're pretty fit.
Reasonably fit.
So you can run for like a half a day, no sweat. I mean, it's a good shuffle. It's not
I don't know about half a day, but you could go for quite a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going along, thinking, this is all right, in a rhythm. Drift snow had come up because the wind had come up and the swirling, so visibility was pretty poor.
Yep. So when you say drift snow, is this literally just light snow just washing up against...
There's two types of snow down there.
Yep.
There's the sort that falls from the sky.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get much of that, surprisingly, in the Antarctic.
It's very dry, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is the driest continent.
It is the driest continent on Earth.
Bizarrely.
Even though it's got over 90% of the world's fresh water.
It is so bizarre when you think about it. Yeah.
But the snow on the ground is more like dust because it's so dry down there.
Yeah.
And wind comes and it swirls up like dust.
So it literally just creates a very quick fog, almost.
Like a fog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except it's very fine ice particles.
Mm.
So I'm going along, and then I turned around. I thought, where are they? There's nobody there. I must have been going a little bit faster than the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The minute I turned around, gone. They disappeared. Gone off in a slightly different direction.
It must be noisy then, in terms of the wind, I mean.
Yeah, the wind was howling, the snow was blowing, so I couldn't see anything. I couldn't hear them. And I was just wandering around thinking, where are they? And I didn't know what direction away from me they were.
You couldn't see the mountains anymore?
The mountains were hard to see. So
because they've gone faded out.
Glimpses of them occasionally, and that's it. And the dogs, relative to me, could have been just about anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just wandering around aimlessly.
So you stop running?
Oh, yes.
And you start wandering around in a bit, I'm lost. Okay, it's ironic when you think about it. I'm lost, yet I'm supposed to be the leader. I'm supposed to show people the way, and yet I've lost my dogs behind me. I've lost my followers.
I just wandered around, and then finally I saw this little grey smudge in the distance. I thought, I think that's them, headed towards it. And then as I got closer, that's them.
So did they stop?
I think they were still going. If I
so
remember.
you're trotting around, lost, and then they're up ahead of you, and you sort of end up creeping up behind them, going, "Hello, fellas."
Look, I can't honestly remember if they were in front of me or behind me. They were probably still behind me. Anyway, I just sort of crept up to them and pretended nothing had happened.
Morning, Jeffrey. Morning, Jeffrey. Where are you? I'll do mine. So, I mean, isn't there a procedure for you when you get to a situation like that where you literally have been blinded out because of the weather conditions, you've got further ahead of the party, and you've lost?
They didn't know I was missing. They just thought I was a bit out of sight.
But they're following you.
Yeah, well...
So you're out of sight. Where are we? Whoa.
For some reason, they were oblivious to the fact that I was missing. I think they thought I was just far enough in front that they couldn't quite see me.
Yeah, but so they could sort of see the scum of the mountain. So they were heading
they could get glimpses of the mountains, so they knew roughly what direction to go anyway.
So I suppose the other thing is, what speed would the sled and the dog team be going at a good pace?
About the pace that you could run.
Which is what, 5
I
Ks?
don't know, probably something like, I don't know how fast.
Because you can dead reckon. I've missed them for a couple of minutes. They'll be this far ahead of me. Because that's what I'm saying. That's the sort of survival thing that you'd have to think about. Going, lost.
I was trying to figure out where they were,
and
I did find them.
You've got no survival pack on you because you've got to run light.
Yeah.
You've got no food. I mean, obviously you'd have staggered into the
well,
hut.
if worse come to worse, I would have just headed back to Mawson. Might have taken me a while. I would have made it one way or another. I mean, they would have found me easy if the wind had dropped down, the drift snow would
just settle down again.
Yeah.
Because I suppose it just comes up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The drift just...
That's right.
And then it's down again.
And it didn't let up for quite a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, it worked out fine.
So it was all good.
All good.
But those are the sort of things you think, those dogs have got extra skills that if you did have somebody lost, could they help you find him?
I don't know how good their sense of smell was down there. Got no idea.
But I suppose there's not much to smell except for themselves.
Yeah, that's about it. So that was a little venture. Finally got them going. We're heading down towards the coast. Now, as we're getting closer to the coast...
Sorry, that's right, you're heading down now, aren't you?
We're starting to... The slope's getting a little bit greater. Now, the ice surface was undulating ripples.
It's like a gravel road.
Yeah, heading down towards the coast. And it was fairly subtle, but it was there. On a warm day, the snow would melt a bit and it would go down the hollows.
Mm-hmm.
And that would tend to make the ice in those hollow parts of the ripples very jagged. Now, as we're heading down, the slope's getting greater, the sled would lose control because it would start to actually overtake the dogs.
Yeah, which is not good.
That was not good. So you'd have to slam on the brakes all the time.
So you have to drag it downhill.
Yeah, well, what happened is the sleds just went sideways into those hollows as well. So the dogs had to go into the hollows where the jagged ice was.
Ah, not good for the poor doggies.
Not good for the poor doggies and their paws.
Poor doggies.
Yeah, with their poor paws.
Yes.
And they got worse and worse.
So they just get slashed on it, it's like cuts your skin.
It was cutting their paws, yes.
Because they'd have pretty solid, good paws for being...
Very, very solid, but this was something no one had anticipated. So we got towards getting close to the really steep part of the slope. What are we going to do here? We had radioed ahead and told.
That's what I thought, because when I was reading the notes, there was no.
They just appeared.
Problem. No, the
dogs had their own solution too.
Oh, what?
They went on strike and just stopped.
Okay. So that's the thing. That's what you're doing with a creature that understands. No, we can't go anymore.
That's right.
We either change it or we just can't do it.
Yeah.
You just let us go and we'll walk back ourselves.
Yeah, they would have done that if you'd let them. They just stopped. They refused to go another step further. So
they're the union, the dog union.
It was
Hang on, we've got enough cuts here, Dads. Right, we're stopping. We're not working anymore. Get lost.
Yes, it's exactly what they did.
Nobody had a secret ballot.
Sometime shortly after that, we hear the sound of the snow track coming up the hill.
The reliable human tractor that's going to come and save you all.
Exactly.
Right.
They got to us, and here's where we did something a little bit unique. Some of those dogs, they're the worst ones.
They're really quite slashed, really bleeding.
Yeah, slashed enough. Yeah. Slashed enough that they wouldn't move, and they could take a lot of punishment. We got them, we threw them into the snow track and took them down in the vehicle. Oh. Well, I'll tell you what, suddenly the dogs thought, this is all right. And you can see the expression on their face. They look proud as punch.
So it's like the snow track's like with tracks.
Yeah.
With like a ute on the back and a cab. Twin cab or something?
No, it's just a single cab. And I think there was a trailer on this one so we could throw the sleds on as well.
Yeah, okay.
And that meant...
So you can see it coming because there's this orange or red thing just...
Yeah, orange is what
moving up the hill.
Yeah. So we got those dogs down the slope. And then those that were remaining we took down with us.
Took it easy.
Yeah, easy. And of course, without a sled, you could keep them in the away from the jagged bits.
Oh, so you basically dumped the sleds as well.
Sleds had been
and a couple of dogs, and then the rest we just walk them down. So you say much by mistake, you go whee.
Yes, you wouldn't want to do that.
This was getting serious now. The dogs had given up. They literally they're on strike. We're not doing this, and you had to get some help. We're nearly there. The snowmobiles picked up the dogs. The dogs are in like, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm going on the truck. The sleds are going, and you're wandering back with the dogs, the leftover dogs, back to the base.
That's correct.
So it was a triumphant return a day early. And they go, we expected you tomorrow. You needed rescuing. Oh, poor people.
They only had to go over a couple of miles inland. It was no biggie.
And they were quite prepared to say, we're going to come and get you.
If it had just been us, they would have done that. But it was the dogs.
I was thinking that, this thing with the dogs with their pads, it's obviously a thing that happens quite a bit.
Well, these dogs, they would have had a little bit of medical attention, but they wouldn't need much because you're not worried about infection and things like that. The only thing that you worry about with infection down there is tetanus.
Okay, because it'd be in the snow, maybe.
The tetanus blows in from all over the world, and there's a lot of tetanus down in the Antarctic because they go into a hibernation.
They freeze until they find a donor. They can be there for generations.
Exactly. So if we had any injury, the first thing the doctor wanted to do was give us a tetanus jab.
You think it's the purest place in the world, but no, because that tetanus can live for thousands of years in a spore.
Yeah. So it's just a little enlightening fact.
But wouldn't it be in the snow as well? So when you're eating the snow,
well,
I suppose that's an infection in the skin, rather.
It would be, but it's got to get in your bloodstream.
Yeah,
it's not a problem if it just gets in your digestive system. So what we did,
excuse me, go on now.
Yeah. We got back triumphantly, as you said.
Was there a great big parade? Hooray! They've returned! No. The great conquering heroes!
No, it didn't happen that way.
Okay, have a beer, mate.
Yeah. No, we had to do our usual routine.
Unclip the dogs.
Unclip the dogs, put them on the dog line, pat them.
So what's a pat for the dog like? Ah, good boy.
You might actually put your arm around.
And he goes, "What the hell are you doing, mate?"
Yeah.
Do they sort of really appreciate that?
Yes, they do. They like the attention of humans. Luckily for us. So you do all that, give them their food, make sure they're all settled, and then that's it for the day. You go into the rec room and spin all sorts of stories about that.
The Rumdoodle experience.
Yeah. And that was it. That was our Rumdoodle adventure, my very first dog trip.
So how do you feel coming back from that going, wow, this is going to be a really good year? You know, this is the sort of things we can do. This is the sort of adventures we can have. You know, all these things, plus your technical work.
That gave me a love of dog trips. So later on in the year, when the sea ice was frozen, the dogs were being trained, I was out there. And I did a lot of dog trips.
So when you say the dogs have been trained, so Lars is obviously picking a leader, isn't he? And
he picks the leader.
So how does he pick? Does he just look at the dogs and go, how they interact? This one's got a bit more dominance. They
go for intelligence. They try and figure out which is the smartest dog. And dominant enough, they don't have to be the dominant dog, but they've got to be dominant enough that the others will follow them.
Because you did say that there is a dominant,
yes, they got
an alpha male or an alpha female, and that pack establishes that. Whereas the human comes in and goes, oh, you're the smarter one.
Interesting fact, and we saw this over and over again. If you went to discipline the lead dog, the very next thing he'd do is run around
and beat the shit out of everybody else.
He'd bite one or two dogs.
So it's interesting psychology. You knock the big dog, he gets his status put down by the other dogs, and they go, ha.
Instantly, he's got to re-establish his dominance, and you let him do it. At first, you think, oh, that's not right. But then you quickly learn, no, it is right.
And to me, from things I work in, that's the sort of thing that has to happen. You have to get a dominance set up within kids. I work with kids.
And you've got to figure out which kid's going to boss you around.
Well, who thinks he can? And that's the sort of, that whole thing is, and when you look at it with dogs and stuff like that, it's very similar. So that's the great trip down.
That's the great trip.
To Rumdoodle. Doodle. All right, thank you very much, Phil Walter.
Very welcome, Pete.
And cut.